There was a lot of enthusiasm in the restaurant, glasses clinking with laughter and the low. There was a murmur of background music. Fairy lights in gold strung from the warming light from the ceiling over the extended eating table where my colleagues, Ari and I, took a seat. Tonight's celebration was meant to be. For the past 5 years, I have had a special night, had given my all to this business, frequently working late to solve issues. Someone else desired to manage and provide guidance. Junior staff, members despite the fact that it wasn't at work Richard, my supervisor, dropped a description. Months of clues that I was the next vying for the role of senior manager, and at this very gathering tonight. When my promotion was announced, I had envisioned this scene innumerable times. The praise, pride, and so I changed the Navy's hymn, looked around the table and at the blue dress. My group was having a great time celebrating. The business's quarterly performance at the Richard stood at the head of the table, clinking, his wine glass while indicating with a fork. The room's focus calmed my heart. Blasted in expectation, he started his in-depth voice over the conversation I desire, to pause and acknowledge someone really remarkable individual who has demonstrated extraordinary talent, drive, and dedication in a brief period of time at the company. Rarely does one come across someone who can make such an effect in just 3 months. My smile wavered. Richard turned to face Lisa, my coworker. "The new hire, Lisa," he added. "You've gone above and beyond all of our demands, your guidance. Inventiveness and problem-solving abilities have impressed each and every one of us. Therefore, I'm delighted to formally introduce your advancement to senior manager." The room exploded in applause. Applause. I sat with my fingers frozen, clasped around my champagne stem glass, my throat constricted, and I made a smile on my face. I joined the others in clapping as Lisa stood with a flush and accepted politely. This wasn't occurring with her new title, felt a little unsteady in my environment as Richard turned to face me as though recalling. "That I existed?" he smiled. "And naturally, Kathy, you have been an invaluable contributor to the group," he said. "We're gratefully your actions in every way." Was it a hollow recognition and a clap on the back following? After 5 years of arduous labor, I accepted I grinned and felt a knot in my throat. Larger, of course, Lisa is deserving of. I raised my glass in a toast as I said it. Richard gave a nod. "She does a lot more than you, in your opinion. Kathy, you ought to take it already." Lisa laughed uncomfortably as she took notes, mumbled, "Oh, I wouldn't say that." However, the words had already been spoken. Hovering in midair like a blow to my face, I shared their laughter, and what else? Could I cry and beg him to tell me why he had accompanied me for months only to? Instead, I lifted my number to shame me. Brought the glass to my lips and sipped slowly as the evening wore on, I grinned and spoke with celebrated. But there was a storm inside, brewing as the celebration came to an end, and I went outside into the crisp night air. I took my phone out of my fingers, shuddered a little as I wrote a brief, straightforward, resignation-related email to HR Please Submit. "This letter, Richard dear. Here is my formal letter of resignation. Attached. Greatest results right away." I hesitated just a moment. "Kathy." Prior to pressing the send button as soon as the email, I stepped out of my outbox and inhaled deeply for I felt anything for the first time in years. Unforeseen comfort. But I wasn't finished yet. Richard was going to find out on Monday precisely what occurs when you undervalue the incorrect individual. The office didn't feel the same as Monday. I entered at the front in the morning, doors with a feeling of silent contentment. My letter of resignation is currently in. Richard didn't know what was in his mailbox. At first sight, everything appeared to typical greetings from the receptionist. A cheerful grin spread across my co-worker's face, stalking over their phones close to the break room. Lisa was already there with her morning coffee, enjoying the afterglow of her large promotion. And I wasn't upset with Lisa because hadn't actually done anything wrong. Issue was seated in the corner office. The A-man who had deceived me for months, giving me the impression that I was only appreciated to throw me away, like if I were nothing. And I took my carefully taking my time and setting my stuff down next to my desk and turning on my computer. I wanted Richard to approach me, and he did. Kathy, his office door opened on cue. Office now. The whole floor became quiet. People looked at each other anxiously, but nobody. Had Richard ever sounded like that before? Prior to urgency, I stood in confusion and desperation. I walked after slowly smoothing my blouse. The door of his office clicked shut. Richard was already seated behind me. My letter of resignation was printed on his desk. He glanced up at the eyes in front of him, looking at my face as though attempting to determining if this was a joke. You're taking his voice off was, unbelievably, I did sit across from. He successfully folded my hands in my lap. Instantly. But why is this so we? Didn't talk about this at all. So I let out a gentle giggle. We didn't talk about Lisa's promotion as well, but his jaw is here. Kathy tightened, but it wasn't personal. Simply performed better than, I said, you've been here for 3 months. If that's what I'm doing, I'm tilting my head. I think Richard leaned forward. You are aware of my gratitude. You have played a crucial role in, I don't want to stay with this company for 5 years. Losing you. I took a long time to look at him. The utter foolishness of his phrases. You don't want to lose me? My raised an eyebrow once again, saying, but you had no issue ignoring me for a moment. Promotion I've had for years, but you didn't. I had trouble laughing when I was made fun of. At my own party to celebrate, and I have no trouble being instructed to take notes from someone who recently arrived. Heiss's expression changed from his typical arrogant confidence starting to erode. He ran a hand through his eyes and muttered, look, hair. Perhaps I erred. Perhaps I ought to have approached it differently, but you suddenly resigning? This isn't Kathy. You're doing the right thing. Sentimental choice. I grinned, but there wasn't. I sent the email on Friday, and it had warmth in it. Good night, Richard. If this was merely feeling, I would have bounded out that night. However, I didn't plan this, and His hand curled into my terms and left. He wasn't used to seeing a fist on the tabletop. Loosing, he inquired, so what's your plan? Sharp now, his voice said, go to one of our competitors, as I must remind you of Kathy, we are not in competition. Oh, he said, and I laughed again. Didn't